Hey, everybody. Welcome to Military Wives Revival Sunday. I'm Teresa Alexis, known as the Military Bride Strategist. I'm your host for this Sunday revival for Military Wives. And today we're going to be talking about a good one. I feel like I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again because I see that it is something that comes up a lot. So we're going to talk about tough love today. And if you're just joining, happy Sunday. Come on in here. I'm Teresa Alexis. For those of you who don't really know who I am, I'm the Military Bride Strategist, as I've said, and I help couples thrive at home and in their career, primarily military couples, because that's my specialty. But tough love. So I know when people hear that, maybe you get a flashback of like what your parents did to you, or something like that. But I want to talk about it in a way that it relates to marriage, because we always think about the parent-child relationship or dynamic, but never really kind of think about it in the aspects of marriage. So, deep sigh. So, tough love. What is tough love? If you're here live or if you're watching the replay in one of these places that is streaming, I want to know, what is tough love to you? So put it in the comments. What is tough love to you? I would say tough love is basically the same thing as love. It challenges us to confront, to act, confront, and then redeem. Tough love is a little bit tweaked a little bit, because on the outside looking in, for those who don't understand what tough love is, it can look very mean, very harsh, very unloving, I guess is a better way to say that. But I think it's all about your perspective, all about your heart. And because these things I'm gonna list can be done from a malicious standpoint, but I'm going to tell you how you can do it from a place of love. And it's called tough love. So like I said before, it's pretty understood from the parent-child relationship or dynamic, but I want to say that looks in the place like, okay, maybe saying no sometimes to your child, because it's unrealistic to make a child think that they can get everything they want just by taking it, asking for it, and never have to work or do anything. That's unrealistic. So maybe tough love is saying, no, you can't have this because you need to earn points or money or whatever it is, however you do it, for your child. Maybe tough love for the parent-child relationship is saying, okay, we're not going to do this week or this month because we have to be responsible in our finances. So what tough love does is it does what is necessarily categorized as the hard thing in order to get them to change their behavior, I guess, or their perspective. That's the word I was looking for. It kind of shifts the mindset a little bit, because we all know kids want me, mine all the time. They're very selfish because they're children. They don't know what else to be, but when it comes to marriage, what that looks like for marriage is it's confronting whatever the problem, issue, circumstance, whatever it is, yet it's redeeming. So there's no condemning here. Like, I know confrontation is looked at as, oh my God, you're always trying to put up a fight or start a fight or something like that. That's not always the case. Maybe some people do it for wanting to start a fight. I know for me, I like to confront the issue head on. Like, I don't like to hold on to it. I don't want to talk about it a month later. I don't want to do none of that. I want to talk about it now so that we ain't got this problem later. But in confronting, you have to have the right timing. And I have been guilty of that, in my life, of not always having the timing right, not always having the atmosphere right, or even the place. So for me, and one of the things I'm going to talk about in here is boundaries, but you have to set a boundary like you do. Like, if it's hard for you to hold on to it for a month, then 30 days is not going to be a boundary that y'all can agree on. That may work for your spouse, but then it may not work for you. So a compromise in there may be, okay, within 7 to 10-ish days, we need to talk about this, whether we sit down together and trying to talk it out, or whether we sit down with a coach or a counselor to talk about it. Whatever that looks like for you. But you have to have the timing that works for both of you. It can't just be what your spouse wants, can't just be what you want. So tough love is confronting yet redeeming. And I'll get to the redeeming part. But that timing piece, that atmosphere piece, and that place piece. Okay, so what I mean by atmosphere, let me just back up a little bit. Okay, maybe you or your spouse had a bad day or bad week or whatever. Might not be the right atmosphere to pile something else on. May not be a good idea. That may just be terrible. Even if your spouse is usually easygoing. Might be the day that they blow up. You just know. You just don't know. You just don't know. And you don't want to add on to that. That's why I say having an atmosphere and timing right. Timing is like how many days, at what point, like, but the atmosphere is different. And place, okay, we probably shouldn't have a very heated fellowship moments in the bedroom where we're most intimate. Probably not, because that then shifts, and we'll talk about bedroom habits later. That then shifts the atmosphere in your bedroom. Okay, I know a lot of us are all about spirituality here and all about the spirit realm. That spirit of animosity or intense fellowship in your bedroom, just that's a no. No, that's a no for me, because my bedroom is my sanctuary. That's my place of peace. That's where I go to relax. If you're trying to talk to me in there and have any type of intense anything other than sex, really, it ain't happening. I'm like completely tuned out and checked out, because that's my boundary. We ain't doing that in there. Also, maybe like the dinner table is not the best place, because that's like an intimate gathering for your family, for your friends. So you're going to have to find a place where y'all can have that conversation that is safe, that creates the atmosphere of redemption, and that is not another place where you want to feel relaxed. I don't know if y'all have had, conversations, heated conversations in your bedroom, but you ever like had that type of conversation in there, and then later on, like you can't sleep, you can't relax. Maybe, not saying this is the case, but maybe that's why. And so I know a lot of people in the military suffer from insomnia already. So you definitely don't want to add that on top of it, because that is a train wreck waiting to happen. So there's that. So in confronting, you got to make sure that your timing, your atmosphere, and your place is all in order. And even though you're confronting the issue, or whatever you want to call it, situation or circumstance, or entanglement even, whatever that is you're confronting, make sure you give the pathway for redemption, reconciliation. So let's say, because unfaithfulness or infidelity isn't always, I realize not everybody categorize that as someone having sex with someone else, even if it's emotional, financial, all of those things. Leave the door open, cue Bruno Mars, leave the door open for redemption, reconciliation. And that, depending on where you are in your stage of marriage, that may not be always possible on that day. And also, that is a whole conversation for another like revival day. But leave the door open for redemption. Always leave it open for them saying, I'm sorry, and for you apologizing. But also in that redemption space, it's not just that. It's not just that. It's also changed behavior, which will take time. It's also a mental paradigm shift, which takes time. So when I say leave the door open, you can't be like, oh, it's open for this day while we're having this conversation. It's closed at, end of business. End of business, close. End of business, end of the day. It's closed. That door's closed. Kind of not how it works in a marriage. And you will find yourself in a place, really in a dark place, and in a place of like complete and maybe total chaos in your marriage. So be confronting yet redemptive. That's tough love. Also, challenge them, challenge them, challenge them to do better. If you see a behavior that, maybe triggers you, or I guess you don't care for, or however you want to phrase that, challenge them in growth and maturity. And they should be doing the same for you. It should go both ways. It shouldn't just be you all the time and you never leaving yourself open for them to do that for you. I believe when couples challenge each other, so much growth and maturity can come out of that. I will say for me, one thing I know my husband and I challenged each other with was our physical fitness while we were active duty. So I did track. So I did a lot of sprinting. I didn't do like long runs, probably never did a mile before I joined the military. Just was not something I did. Short distance all day. Long distance, that ain't me. But to build that endurance, we challenged each other. He was naturally faster than I was. So we challenged each other in our physical fitness. So he would go on runs with me. And I've said this before, but it would be more like me looking at him in a distance running. And I felt like I was jogging. Now I was running, but I was just like slower. But, as I would like push myself and try to catch up in a way, like, really, was I catching him? But like catch him in a way, like it made me faster. And I wasn't the fastest, but I definitely wasn't the last, which mattered to me. Also, too, I challenged him in how he thought as a leader in different things, in different situations he dealt with his troops. Okay, maybe that wasn't the best way to like handle that, because these are a bunch of little kids. Like, this was when we were older, obviously. These are a bunch of little kids, and the way they thinking is not by what you're saying. You are a little bit older than them now. You got a bit of experience under your belt. They ain't think about none of that. They just popped out their mama's womb and joined the military. So they don't care about nothing that you're saying. So you're gonna need to approach it in a different way. So that's what I mean by challenging. Now, those just two examples, but we did that in love and we were better for it. So challenge each other, bring up issues that matter. And you're probably saying, well, Alexis, they all matter. Okay, we'll bring them up, but bring them up in a way that's not demeaning, that's not harsh. And your tone, like my tone right now, me sharing this is a tone of love. Some people, husbands included, are sensitive. They just are. They're sensitive. So my voice, I'm from the deep South, y'all. So I'm loud anyway. My voice projects and I'm just loud. And especially when I get passionate and I get excited, I'm that much louder. Like right now, I probably seem loud to somebody who has their speaker probably on halfway, but I seem loud. I'm okay with that. That's just who I am. That's who I'm gonna be. I'm never gonna change that. Maybe my spouse don't understand that, so he brings it up. And I'm like, oh, well, that's just natural for me. I can't change something that's natural, but I will be more mindful in those moments that are most sensitive, where maybe you can't take my voice projecting. But definitely don't tell me nothing that's going to excite me in that moment, because then you setting both you and me up for failure. So see how we can bring up an issue that matter, see how we can talk it out and come to a resolution. Okay, I will be more mindful. I respect how you feel because I love you. You my spouse. I wouldn't have married you if I didn't. So let's talk about it. Okay, I'm gonna be mindful. But also, if you're more sensitive in a moment like A, then don't come into a situation telling me something that's going to make me passionate or excited, because then you're going to get B, which is me with my voice projecting naturally. So, each of us have to be more mindful of the other. My voice is going to project when I'm excited or passionate. You're more sensitive in this moment. Don't tell me something that's going to make me be this over here. See, I know that sounded easy. It don't always go that way, but that's just an example. And it may be like a 45-minute conversation. Y'all get to the end result. That's okay. You should be able to talk to your spouse and without shame, like without any of that. You should be. Keyword is should be. And like I said in the beginning, sometimes it's going to take being in a room with, and I forgot to mention mentors, either mentors, a counselor or a coach like myself. And that's okay. That's okay. We all need people. I'll go back to that. But also, I did say this in the beginning, give your spouse a chance at redemption, but also give yourself that chance too, because a lot of times us as wives, we're really hard on ourselves. We really beat ourselves down. And so when someone else does it, it makes it that much worse. So when you're leaving the door open, you're leaving it open for you and your spouse. So there's that. And I want to read y'all a scripture for those of you who are my scripture lovers. Matthew 18:15. If your brother or sister sins against you, go tell them his fault between you and them alone. If they listen to you, then you have won them. Basically, that means confront, but redeem. Be confronting, yet redemptive. So that means, okay, there's an issue here. Instead of gossiping about it, telling everybody under the sun about your spouse, what they done did to you, go to your spouse. And I will take a step back. Also, I like to pray before I do things. And sometimes for me, not saying y'all, maybe y'all don't do this, but for me, sometimes I'm praying for reassurance because one, I don't want to do it anyway. Like I have no problem confronting, but there are certain things that God tell me to tell people, especially my spouse, that I'd be like, God, really? Me? You want me to go tell them when? Now? Like, and you'll know it's now because God will press so heavy. It's because maybe just me. Like, I didn't tell you tomorrow, next year, girl. I told you this is what you need to say in this moment. And maybe he don't talk to y'all like that, but he talked to me like that. So, going back. You have to be confronting yet redemptive, because when you are telling your spouse something, it should be out of love. It shouldn't be out of malicious or evil intent or because you hate their guts. And trust me, nobody gets it more than me to know that there are going to be times where you just hate people's guts. I mean, let's be realistic. And maybe it's not the hate, like the real hate. It feels like I hate their guts, but you really just strongly dislike them at the moment, or something they have done or continue to do after you've told them, bruh, stop doing this before I smack you. And maybe you don't say that, but some people do. And you're probably not going to really smack them, but that's how you feel. And that's what you say. So, bring it up, confront it, but be redemptive, because just think about yourself in that situation. You would want your spouse to be forgiven of you. And if you don't, then maybe you shouldn't be on this revival right now, because I'm talking specifically to the people who need what I'm saying. So also in tough love, sometimes there comes a point of separation. And I would say it's different. And again, like I said in the beginning, a lot of people will probably listen to these things I'm saying and think, oh, those are bad. They're not biblical. Okay, you can have that thought process. That's you. Can you scoot over so the people who need this can be here? So separation as an act of love. And I want to go back to the parent-child relationship for a little bit. I don't know if you've grown up and had to separate yourself from your parents or any other family member because of their toxic, crazy, destructive behavior. But I have done it. Me joining the military was me separating myself from my parents and my family, because I just felt like they just had too much going on. Now I love them and I would go back to see them, but I had boundaries. I had time limits, all of those things. So how can that be biblical? But then people say the same thing about marriage, and all of a sudden it's not biblical. Separation can be an act of love. And also, Jesus had to separate himself from his disciples for a moment. And granted, it wasn't years or months, but for a moment so that he can be closer to the Father. And when I say separation as an act of love, there will come a time, or there may come a time, I won't say it's always happening in every marriage everywhere, but there may come a time where you have to separate yourself from your spouse, or they may have to separate themselves from you, both to be safe, to be wise, and to get themselves closer to God. And that doesn't always mean you're going to be in a different house, because sometimes it's being in separate rooms. Sometimes it's being in separate houses, separate states. And anything, I won't say anything, but in certain situations in the military, you're separated anyway, whether it be through TAD deployment, or you and the kids are back in the rear, or back at home. Let's say your home city and state, while they are off being active duty or active reserve somewhere else. So separation is there already. That's huge in the military. But there are times where you in the same city and state, and you may have to separate yourself. And I don't want to miss anything, but I want to say some things here. Separation does not equal divorce. It doesn't always end in divorce. I don't know why people's mindset is on that. I don't know why. Because when it comes to family, sometimes you have to separate yourself and love them from a distance. Tough love. Love you, but I can only take 30 minutes of you, as far as it's like parent, child, or other family members. I can only take like 30 minutes of you. Might be 10, depending on the day. When it comes to your spouse, okay, I need to separate myself and love you from a distance, because your behavior, your actions are destroying me and destroying the children, and also destroying yourself. So separation as an act of love means that, you are continuing to serve your spouse by giving them tough love and saying, you know what, I cannot stand for this abuse, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, financial. And I believe anything can be worked out, but I also believe in having a place of safety, a safe haven. And I believe in separation. I do. Now, I don't teach divorce. I don't teach that separation is going to end in divorce. If you choose that, that's on you and between God, but I don't teach those principles, because I believe that even in separation, there can be healing. There can be not separation, because that's what we're talking about, reconciliation, and there can be prosperity in that. I strongly believe that. Why? Because I've both seen it and I both know it. So there's that. But separation also doesn't mean completely severing a relationship. It doesn't mean, because while some people don't believe in divorce, they believe in being separated indefinitely. I don't know why that's a thing, but it is. Separation, divorce, like long-term separation, that's all of those are things. And some of those boggle my mind, but people believe in them. I have no idea why, but that's a thing. But separation doesn't equal that. Now, can it become divorce? Can it become completely severing the relationship? Yes. But in this aspect of what I'm talking about, those aren't really, that's a whole nother topic. But separation as an act of love is what I'm teaching. Separating yourself to be safe. Separating yourself to help your spouse get themselves back on track of whatever they're doing. But it's about honoring God, honoring yourself. Now, I don't believe that God gonna tell you to do anything malicious to your spouse. I just don't believe that. I'll never believe that. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. But I will say there does, like I said, it comes a time in your life where it's both safe and responsible to separate. And that's okay. That's okay. Now, in this separation as an act of love, that does not mean go out and tell everybody your business. Now, people have eyes, people have ears, so they're going to see things and they're going to figure it out anyway. But everybody don't need to be in your business, because not everybody is intended to help. There are people out there, because I want y'all to be wise in this tough love, because tough love, it can start out as genuine tough love and come over here and be something else. And then you'll find yourself in a pickle, as people say, or as my mom would always say. But you want to make sure you're being wise in this. When you are separating as an act of love, you want to make sure you set up boundaries for yourself so you don't fall into temptation, so you do not end up in unnecessary strife between you and your spouse or whoever. And another thing I'm going to tell you, stop caring about what everybody says and thinks. Just don't care. Because number one, everybody on the outside and everybody as it pertains to these type people gonna have something to say about you, your marriage, what you could have did, what they could have did, as in your spouse. But ultimately, it comes down to you, your spouse, and God. And that's between the three of y'all. And any counselor or coach you invite in. Don't invite too many people in, because then it's gonna be like a hurricane. And it's gonna take a lot to pick that back up. Now, I will say, side note, there are some times where people unintentionally are invited in because maybe you or your spouse had an outburst in front of them and they're like, what? That has happened to me several times. I was unintentionally invited into situations and all I can give them is love. That's it. That's all I got. I ain't got nothing else because I love both of you. But I just want y'all to be wise and be careful when doing this. Also, when it comes to separation, there also, like I said, can be healing in this. And it comes from standing up to your spouse or vice versa, having your spouse stand up to you and say, this ain't gonna be it. Like, I'm not gonna take your abuse. I'm not gonna take your manipulation, whatever it is. And because of that, I need this space. I need time. I need space. Now, I know there are times where none of that occurs and it's just real chaotic, real destructive on how y'all separate. However, your intent, let me step back. And I want to say that includes abandonment. So, and I get that y'all don't always come to a mutual agreement of separation. I understand that. But your intentions, because wives, I'm talking to you right now, and husbands, if y'all listen, this can apply to you too. Your intent can still be pure. Your intent can still be godly. Your intent can still be honoring. You don't have to be malicious just because they were. It don't matter what they did, what they said, what they do. It matters what you say, what you do. All of that matters. Because I know. We want to match that energy sometimes. I get it. Nobody feel you, I feel you. I understand that, but it takes a great level of maturity and love to say, I'm not going to match their energy in that way. I'm going to come above their energy. Okay? I'm going to come above their energy and be this. I'm going to be this, because if I'm not this, I'm going to be down here. And y'all know what I say, what I mean when I say we're going to be knucking and bucking. Okay? And we don't want to be that. Like in our mind, maybe we do. But like in theory, how does that help? It doesn't. And even with the knucking and bucking, the petting is down there too. And if you up here, you just got to rise above. It's a process to rise above. It is. I wouldn't be telling y'all this if I didn't know it for myself. I wouldn't be telling y'all this if I didn't believe it. So with that, separation can bring forth something beautiful, but you got to do it in love. Do it in love. And also, if you're on here and you're commenting and you want to know a little bit more about that, definitely hit me up. And we'll have that conversation. So, but the last thing I want to say about tough love, because tough love can be looked at in many different aspects. And this is the second time I'm talking about it. So clearly, but tough love is a call to greater. It's a call to greater. Don't you know you got certain expectations? If you're the service member, you have great expectations for your troops under you, for yourself, for your kids, if you have kids, and even for your spouse. Like, I know I do. Maybe that's just me though, but it's a call to greater. Having that tough love is like, you ain't gonna run over me, kids, because of X, Y, and Z. This don't teach you nothing, so that ain't happening. Even while consciously parenting. So, and that's another topic. But when it comes to relationship with your spouse, it's a call to greater. Like, I don't know how many times my spouse will come home venting. We all do it. Venting from like a very challenging or crappy day at work. It happens. you know, and I let him get it out. Get it out, because it needs to be out. And I'd rather it be out in the right company than to any old Jane, Sally, or Shaniqua, whoever. So give them that space. Let them, when they ask for your thoughts, give them your thoughts in love. Always remember that, in love, because you don't need to be saying stuff and then have them feeling like you're degrading them, because that ain't helpful. And you wouldn't like it done to you. Ain't nothing worse than having somebody pull a you on you. I'm just saying, unless you're just perfect and you do things flawlessly all the time, then that may be great. But when you're not that person and somebody pulls a you on you, you like, I ain't like that. I ain't really like that. But then you realize you've done it and you're like, yeah, I probably deserve that one. So yeah, but it's a call to greater. Okay, what can you pull out of this crappy day or terrible day that was good? Maybe nothing at first. Maybe they be like, nothing. What you mean? Something good. Wasn't nothing good about this. Did it reveal something to you? Because that's positive. You were able to see people in a whole new light. You were able to see that a certain person or people act like this under pressure. You got knowledge now. You have new knowledge. What you do with that knowledge now is on you. Okay, you were actually able to be there in the moment, so it wasn't he say, she say. Positive. I know it's not easy when you're heated to be positive. But what is great about this situation? It calls you to put yourself in this situation and say, hey, here's a different perspective. So it's a call to greater for both you and your spouse. So yeah, and it's also not putting up with anything that's destructive, demeaning, or anything like that from them. I mentioned that before, but it's a call to greater. It's like, okay, if we are saying we are good people, if we're saying we have good morals, if we're saying we are believers, if we're saying we are Christians, whatever we're saying we are, whatever we're saying our core values are, each of us, not just me, the wife, each of us need to be held to those standards. Yeah, we're going to fall sometimes because we're imperfect, but we're calling each other to greater. That means we're calling each other to grow. That means we're calling each other to be mature. I can't talk today. And we're calling each other to look at things differently. Because just like I described that you can do this for your husband, your spouse can do the same thing for you. So it's calling each other to it. And I will say tough love doesn't always have to come from the wife. It doesn't always have to come from the husband. It can come from either of you. And if you're not in a wife-husband relationship, it can still come from either of you. So there's that. And I want to say never underestimate the power of tough love. Because I can tell you right now, everybody in my life, that's my friends, my business colleagues, my children even, give me tough love. But I teach tough love to my kids. And it's okay if they give that to me, because they are learning how to exercise that, how to do that. And what greater person than me? I have to be open to it. I can't teach them a thing and then they ain't got nobody to practice on. Fair game, okay? So never underestimate the power of tough love. Tough love can change hearts, can change minds. It can, because it's love. Now, on the outside from far, 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 far away, it looks harsh. It looks mean. It looks like maybe you'd never do that. But it's love, I'm telling you. That's why you can be confronting. You can be confronting. But if you don't have the redemptive part, I wouldn't say that's doing that in love. You just confronting issues. That's what we doing. Where they do that at? Maybe they do that somewhere, but that ain't for us right here in this moment, in this conversation. Tough love is being confronting yet redemptive. That's helpful. That's helpful. Because if we're confronting with nothing else on the table, kind of sounds like condemnation, don't you think? At least it do to me. Maybe that's whatever. But separation, if you're not doing that as an act of love and you just separating because you just want to be separated, because you just, I don't know, mad. Okay. So ain't no love in there. Ain't no we separating for a time to reconcile. Like there's nothing else attached to this. I wouldn't say that's under tough love because people separate to divorce. Maybe that ain't tough love. Maybe that's something else. And maybe it is. I don't know. I ain't in that situation. But, you know, a call to greater, saying I'm not going to put up with your stuff just to say I'm not going to put up with your stuff and like be gone. Shoot fly, don't bother me kind of. How's that helpful? And maybe y'all can tell me in the comments how that's helpful, but a call to greater is different. I'm not putting up with your trash because me and you, this marriage, this family, this dynamic right here was called to do something else that's going to get us stuck in whatever this mud that can very much turn to quicksand is. We don't need to be right here. We need to be over here. We can't get over here if you doing trash like this. This ain't going to help us. This not going to help you. This ain't going to help me. This ain't going to help our kids. This ain't going to help our future. This ain't going to help our finances. Okay. So call to greater is over here. You can come too, but if you choose to be over there, I ain't got nothing to do with that. But I love you enough to tell you over there and we need to be right here. So something is attached to this and all of it is love. So as I said before, never underestimate the power of tough love. And tough love can seem harsh. It can seem harsh, especially to people who are not in your marriage. They don't matter. We love them, but they don't matter. What matters is you and your spouse, your family. Anybody outside of that, their thoughts and opinions, most of the time you probably didn't ask anyway. So we love y'all, but what y'all think don't matter to me. What God thinks matter to me, what my spouse think matter to me, but y'all, I ain't married to y'all. I ain't married to you. Be bold enough to say that. My family knows that I really don't care. Now, they do say some stuff to me that is very helpful and that does help me. And I'm open-ish to that. They know that. And they know I'm very vulnerable and transparent about the fact that I'm not perfect. So they may tell me something, I don't like it, but eventually I'm listening because they were right. They were right. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that say, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should not do this. Oh, I wouldn't do this for him. They don't matter. Okay. What matters is you and your spouse. You need to do what you know is right for you and your spouse. Don't be malicious. I'm telling you that as your coach and online friend, online BFF. So don't be malicious. Don't be harsh. Do things in love. And this may be a slow process for you. Maybe you're not what they categorized as confrontational. I'm categorized as confrontational. I don't care about the label or categorization. Look, I told y'all it's Sunday. I always can't talk on Sundays and Mondays for some reason, but it may be harder for you to do that. That's okay. Maybe you have to write a letter. Maybe you got to send a long text and maybe put at the top long text alert. Because I don't know, some phones will read the text to you, but if you're not in a private place, might not be a good idea. But maybe writing a letter, doing a text, small increments if you want to, works for you right now. Or maybe you're more comfortable, like I said, in the presence of a mediator, whether that's a mentor, a coach, or a counselor, to do any of this stuff or say any of this stuff. But ultimately, and these mediators are going to have their opinions, just like I do. But at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a decision between you and your spouse that you make. So tough love is needed. And it's not just these three things. It's also the last conversations we've had. So tough love can be something that uplifts your marriage, something that helps break down those things in your marriage that shouldn't be there anyway, and help build it back up properly. And properly is maybe objective is the word I'm looking for, but yeah, or can be subjective maybe. But confrontation, separation, and a call to greater can be done in love. It can be done from a place of love. And speaking of love, speaking of love, Military Marriage Fest is happening June 3rd and 4th, and tickets are on sale right now. So you can get your general ticket for $197 per couple, or you can get a VIP ticket for $397 per couple. That's a sale because general admission was $297 and VIP was $597. So it's on sale right now. So you can go to bit.ly/48MMF, and it'll be down in the description. So you can click on the link and go there to purchase your ticket. But if you want to know more about Military Marriage Fest, you can just go to militarymarriagefest.com. But those tickets over there are full price. So you might want to use my little link from this video to do that and go over there and get your sale ticket. So there's that. But Military Marriage Fest, we'll be talking about strengthening the foundations. And one thing we'll be talking about is love and how it's understood and misunderstood and how you can build that back up in your marriage. Also, or not just build it back up, but build on it from where you are, because a lot of times people think retreats and conferences is just for marriages in trouble. I have no idea where that thought process came from. I never thought that. I thought they were there for people in any stage of marriage. And I will say this virtual retreat is that. But you want to make sure that you get your ticket because there are some awesome swag boxes being mailed out, and you want to make sure you get it in time for the conference. Because if you don't, you're going to be getting it after the conference, and you're going to be sad because you won't have it while the conference is happening or while the retreat is happening, the virtual retreat. So go to militarymarriagefest.com to view all the information about the virtual retreat, and then go to bit.ly/48MMF. I think it is 48MMF to get your sale ticket. And again, those links are in the description. Also, if you just want to connect with me and see how I kind of flow, see my group, see what we're doing, because we do other things that's not just this conference, go to Military Wives Collective on Facebook and search that group, and you answer the questions, get yourself ringed on up in there, and then get involved in the group, ask questions, don't post PII, personal identifiable information. Don't do that. But post in there, questions you have, anything you have. There's ways to do it anonymously. You can go in there and post anonymously if you don't want everybody to know it's you, or I can do the posting for you, me or one of my ambassadors. So join the group, Military Wives Collective on Facebook. Go get your ticket at bit.ly/48MMF for Military Marriage Fest. And if you just want to see information or pass it on to a friend who you know, go to militarymarriagefest.com. So I hope Tough Love today helped you. Hope this conversation helped you. It was a different way of looking at it today. I hope that it helped you and that you didn't feel beaten down or anything like that, but you felt empowered to know that tough love is capable in marriage, and that tough love is something that is also needed in seasons. Now, don't be walking around here telling everybody that Teresa Alexis told you to do tough love every day. I ain't say that, and I won't back you up on that one at all. But tough love is needed in certain situations and seasons in your life and in your marriage. So you all have a marvelous Sunday. And if you missed the revival from last week or any of the trainings from last week, hit me up. I might be able to help you. So have a great